Hi, guys. I'm Nina,
I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
and we are Bloody Essentials. Just a few quick announcements. We have an upcoming appearance at Ohio TerraCon, August 16th and 17th. That's coming up really soon. So be sure to join us there for that. That's the very brand new con. Shout out to Whole Damn Enchilada podcast for inviting us to that. It's going to be a great time. We are doing Nightmare on Elm Street, the OG from 1984. So
Yes.
obviously, this is also a rite of passage movie for a lot of people. When was the first time you guys saw this movie for the first time?
Good, Jamie.
Ooh, okay. So, as I've said in the past, I kind of started like piecemealing like horror movies when I was a kid, and then when I became a teenager, I really like fully launched into it. So, Nightmare on Elm Street was like in that sweet spot right in between, right between childhood and teenagehood. So it was like middle school or something, preteen life, and I loved it. I've been wanting to see it for a while because that's one of those like covers, that I knew and a character that I knew. So that was definitely a rite of passage for me.
Love it.
Yes, that's awesome. I seen it when it first came out, so I was 7.
Did you see it in theaters or no?
Oh no. I had to see it at home. They weren't gonna take me to the theater to see it. I
Darn
kind of had
it.
to I kind of had to
Wow.
sneak, but yeah, no, I seen it when it first came out, and I didn't see the edited version. I did get it from well, it was Nighttime Video, not Blockbuster. Our local video
Oh,
store was called Nighttime
Oh,
Video.
love
I love
So
it.
yeah, we went and we were able to rent 3 movies at a time, and I snuck that one in.
Nice.
Glad my parents were paying attention, but I snuck that one in and took it home and became obsessed with Freddy and Dreams and the whole 9 yards. So,
Yeah. This
what about you?
was this was something I watched. I've told you guys the story before. My mom and I, the first Halloween after my parents split up, that Halloween, it was all slashers. That was what we did. So we watched Jason first, and then I think it was Michael, and then Freddy. And there was just something so different about Freddy that I just
yeah.
loved.
Yeah, we'll get into that. He's definitely a one of a kind slasher. So,
Yeah, I want to talk about that closer to the end. So, but
yeah.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
get into that for
All right.
sure.
I'll save my thoughts then.
Awesome. All right, shall we jump on into plot points?
Let's
Do
jump
it.
on into it. All
Awesome.
right. So we have the opening sequence where we see the boiler room and the iconic Freddy making his own glove, which is just freaking awesome. Now,
So
when I was
great.
when I was a
So
kid, I was
good.
like, "Oh, that's so cool," and oh, blah blah. When I watch it as an adult, and I'm a plumber, no, seriously, and I'm a plumber, I'm like, okay, so he's using solder for this, and he's using,
Love it.
pipes for this, and I'm like, I'm looking at this in a completely different light now. But
I love that. That's really interesting.
yeah,
It is.
yeah, it's awesome. So that iconic opening with the music and it's phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal. I think we can all agree that's probably one of the better openings to a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
What a way
Yeah,
to start a movie, right? Like
absolutely.
instantly intriguing. Like you're instantly like, what? Okay,
Exactly.
we're in
Like,
for
oh
a
my
good
God, what's
start.
going on here?
What a way
Yeah.
to start a franchise, and they didn't even
Yeah.
know it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
They didn't even know.
They didn't
Yes.
even know, man.
So then we've got Tina running down the boiler room, and then you see Freddy lurking behind her, and all of a sudden she sees Freddy and freaks out and starts running through the boiler
Yes.
room, which, of
Yeah.
course, down the hallways in the boiler room, and then, of course, it made me think of you, Jamie, because I'm like, people running down hallways, so
You know me, I love people running down a hallway. It can be in a boiler
absolutely.
room, it can be in a boat, it can be in a haunted house, any hallway, anywhere. Want people to run down it and terrorize.
Exactly. Exactly. So all of a sudden, Tina wakes up screaming and freaking out in her bed, and we realize it was a dream. She's got slash marks across her nightgown, and Tina's mom, opens the door and I don't think that's Tina's dad. I'm assuming that's just the guy that
No.
she's screwing. So,
Yeah.
but at the time, I didn't even think it was her dad. I'm like, because, well, I'll get into that in a minute. And Tina's like, or Tina's mom's like, you're either going to have to stop that dreaming or cut your nails. Ma'am.
I know.
How would you go find out if your daughter's okay?
That's something that is an ongoing thing in almost every nightmare movie, though. The parents are just not attentive to their children like they used to be at one point.
Right.
But they are no more.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
So from there, we get the infamous nursery rhyme and the kids jump and rope. The 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, which I have right here on my cup. So.
Aw, I feel like this was something that seriously, like, you know, people would sing this. Like, teenagers would sing it. People would sing it. People knew it. It was the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was singing it all weekend.
When I was a kid,
Right?
I thought I was such like a cool kid for knowing the entire thing. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. And when I was young, I of course, because I was obsessed with it and I watched it, you know, a million times, I would be singing it at school and stuff. And there was only like two other kids that knew it.
Yes.
But of course, while we were singing, we had to make sure that nobody else heard it because I went to a private school. So the teachers were by. We were like, oh, praise the Lord. So.
Yep.
Love that.
Right? I'm like, oh, okay. So from there, we go to our 4 main characters that are walking into school. There we find out that they're Johnny Depp and Heather Langenkamp are dating, and Rod and Tina are, well,
doing something.
I guess you could say that they were dating, right?
They're in a situation.
Yeah, they're in a situation.
Yes, that's a great way to label that for sure.
So they're talking about, you know, I had a bad dream and I had this and I had this, and Rod comes up and he's like, I had a heart on when I woke up this morning. It had your name written all over it. And Tina's like, my name has 4 letters in it. How's a room on your joint for 4 letters? And the best thing, and I ran around, yes, I'm like, that burn. The best thing, and I ran around saying it, and I always got in trouble with my parents. I'm like, up yours with the twirling lawnmower. Like he said during, I of course didn't know what up yours with a twirling lawnmower meant. Finally, my dad was like, sit down.
No.
Let me explain to you what this means. So.
Okay, and I have to say really quick. I really love Not So Final Girls, right? They're like my favorite. They're always my favorite. And I like freaking love Tina. She gets so many like Not So Final Girl points in this movie, and that's one of the first ones. Like she has a fun, like sassy attitude, and like her takedown in that moment, total points for that. Total points.
Yeah.
So the next scene, we're at Tina's house, and Nancy and Tina and Glenn are there, and we find out that they're going to have a sleepover, and Glenn hasn't asked his mom. He thinks that she's staying over at his cousin Barry's house, so he calls her up, and he's got this tape because Barry lives by the airport. So he puts it on, and there's the oh yeah, you know, Aunt so-and-so says hi, and you know, Barry's doing good, and all of a sudden it goes from that to like screeching in a car crash and explosion and stuff. Totally something that I'm like, again, parents not paying attention.
Exactly.
Because had it been my parents, as soon as the phone hung up, they'd have called Barry's house and been like, what's going on? Is my kid okay?
Yeah.
And see, me, I'm watching it again, and I'm still like, oh yeah, that could work. You know, that's pretty good.
No, my dad would have dropped me off at Barry's house and talked to the parents before we even left.
Right.
Like there was none of this, all right, I'm trusting you thing. No.
Okay, so Nancy and Tina are on the couch, and they're talking about, you know, she had this dream, and you know, this guy in a red and queen sweater, and you know, Nancy just kind of looks at her and she's like, I dreamed about the same guy, and he had finger knives. And they're like, oh my God, we've dreamed about the same person. Johnny Depp's like, yeah, that's impossible. Yeah, that didn't happen. All of a sudden you hear screech. They all kind of look and they're like, what was that? I didn't hear anything. Screech again. So, like the brightest people in the world are like, let's go outside and find out what's going on. So they go outside. They go outside, and Johnny Depp, being all of 120 pounds, it's like,
he's such a baby,
right? He goes out and he's
very
like,
intimidating.
What's going on? I'm gonna knock you out. Yeah, I'm like, dude, you're really not scary. Gust of wind and you'll be knocked over. You're really not scary. So he's like, okay, it must have been nothing. All of a sudden, Rod jumps out and tackles him to the ground, and they have their little banter back and forth. And Rod's like, what's going on here? An orgy or something? He's like, maybe a funeral, dickhead. And he flips out his switchblade at him. And Nancy takes the switchblade and she clicks it down. She's like, it's just a sleepover. Glenn was just leaving. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't believe that. He's like,
No.
Her mom's not home, is she? So he's like, we got things to discuss. We're going to go ahead and go in the house, and we've got her mother's bed, and you got the rest of the house. So they're going to go in, and Tina leaves around, and she's like, don't leave me with the psycho. So they go
Listen to Tina.
start doing whatever they're doing, right?
Wrestling.
Right. Yes. Exactly. And, Johnny Depp starts, why do I keep calling Johnny Depp? His name is Glenn.
I
Glenn
always
starts,
call Johnny Depp in this. Yeah.
he starts kissing on, Nancy, and she's like, we're not here for us now. No, he's there for one reason.
Yeah.
And it's not to help Tina. So
right. Tina's already doing stuff. She doesn't need our help. She's being helped in other ways right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Babysitting has ended.
Yeah.
Exactly. And baby making is starting.
Yes. We've got to preserve the final girl's, virtue. We can't have her do anything.
Exactly. So, okay, they go into the house, and next thing we know, we've got them two knocking boots, and Nancy's in Tina's bed, and Johnny Depp's on the couch, and he's like, man, morality sucks.
Such a great line.
Yeah, there are so many great one-liners in here in this movie.
So many. And I have to say the lighting on Johnny Depp was lovely in that scene too, because he's in this dark room, but his face is lit in like a really pretty way. So beautiful lighting on Johnny Depp there.
Oh yeah.
So we see Nancy in bed, and the crucifix falls off of the wall.
So good.
Yeah.
Such a great thing.
It just falls off the wall, and we're like, okay. All of a sudden, they're done knocking boots, and they're laying in bed, and you hear, what the hell's that? Well, obviously somebody was throwing some rocks at the window. At this point, we don't know that Tina's actually dreaming. We think this is happening, but I'm not going to spoil it, it's from 1984, so everybody knows. It was obviously a dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's done so effectively, and they do that multiple times and that makes it even dreamier, right?
Yes.
Because you're like, whoa, is this reality? Is this happening right now? Or is this a dream? And I will say something I like about the dreams is they all have like a kind of bluish tone to them.
Yes.
So you can always you can see little signs, but they're very like seamless how they like transition into it. Mm-hmm. So it's really like excellent filmmaking and storytelling.
Yes. So we cut from the rocks in the window and who is it and who's there to Nancy being in bed again, and then Freddie coming out of the wall. But he doesn't come out of the wall comes with him, and then it's like she wakes up, so he gets sucked back into the wall, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
One of my favorite effects in this movie by far.
Absolutely fantastic. And they do that a couple of times with that, like at the end, which we'll get to, but phenomenal.
I love
Wes
that she
Craven
puts the crucifix back
puts
up.
back on the wall. That's right.
So you can't come back.
Yep.
I'm like, you got it, girl. Come on, Jesus. So, so Tina goes outside, and what's going on here, and she goes out into the alley, and then all of a sudden we get the reveal of Freddy coming. I like to call him Long Arm Freddy. So
Yes.
Bear hug Freddy.
right.
He just wants a hug.
Yes. And this is one of my fun facts, but I'm just going to say it now. That was done. They had, so these were like puppet arms that they had on him, and they had fishing poles, and that's how they operated them apparently, which is kind of fun.
That's very cool.
It looks
Very
great.
cool. Yeah.
It looks amazing.
And that alley, I loved it because when I seen it, I grew up in Cicero. We had alleys like that.
Yeah.
And it actually looked like my alley.
Nice.
And I was like, that is super cool. Obviously, I knew it wasn't
yeah.
my alley, but I was like, that just looks really cool.
It had that real alley feel to it.
It definitely does.
Definitely. And so Tina's like, oh, please, God. And he's like, this is God. And that shot right there with the glove in his face and the lighting, freaking phenomenal. So we get the chase that's ensuing all the way through the alley and then back into the yard while she's getting ready to go into the house. And he's like, Tina. And then he cuts off his fingers and the green blood starts spurting out. That is awesome. Tina's back in the room.
So good.
And then one of the greatest death scenes, I think,
of all time.
Ever. Of all time.
Yes.
She starts she's wrestling with her under the covers, obviously. And she starts flipping around and knocks Rod out of bed in his tighty whities. And he's off in the corner, and all of a sudden he sees the slash marks. She starts getting thrown all around the room, and she's on the ceiling, and that was freaking awesome. It was
my favorite.
Awesome.
My favorite moment of the whole thing is when the covers are still over them, and you actually see Freddy and Tina both just wrestling. Like obviously that's all in her head. Rod can't see him, but like that's so like beautifully shot, perfectly lit. Like it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh. It's so cool. And then like I just like the way that like the slash marks like appear and like the blood just like oozes like from it, and it's it looks so good. Like the way the blood comes out is amazing.
The blood in this movie is fantastic.
So good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course she's screaming, Rod's freaking out. So Nancy and Glenn, of course, jump up and they rush to the door, and finally they get into the door and see Tina, laying there dead and blood all over the room. And Rod's gone. He jumped out the window.
Yeah.
Which I guess I could understand. If all my friends thought I killed my friend, I might dip too. So
I don't know. I feel like I would have had to stick around to be like, we have to get help. I didn't see the person, but something happened. I know it sounds crazy, but believe me, I didn't do it.
No. Me, myself, I would. But I'm saying if I was Rod, because they already think he's, a no good hoodlum. So I definitely wouldn't have left.
You're like, no.
Yeah,
plus logistically, like they were saying, there was no one else in the room. The door was locked. Like it couldn't have been anybody but Rod. From a logistical standpoint. So
Yes.
So now we're at the police station, and we see Lieutenant Thompson come in, and which everybody loves John Saxon.
John Saxon.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I got excited just when the credits were rolling and his name came on the screen. He gets top billing in this, by the way.
Yes.
And so and so his name pops up there first, and I'm like, yay!
Yeah.
Like I knew it, but every time I see it, I have that it feels like a treat every single time. So he's there doing his thing.
Great actor and such a nice guy. such
Really?
a nice guy. Oh my
I would have
god,
loved
yeah.
to meet him. I would have loved it. I would have made a fool of myself, but it would have been
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, no. Super nice guy. Super nice guy. So when he goes into, he's like, I want to know what she was doing there. Cop's like, she lived there. And he's
Yeah.
like, no, my daughter. And then we get the reveal that he's dad and mom's there too. And which, by the way, have you ever met Mom, Ronnie Barkley?
I
No,
wish.
not this one. No.
Yeah,
I stand her. I love her. Her hair is perfect to me in this scene, by the way. Her hair is perfect for me. I love her.
Yeah, no,
she's a great actress.
She is. She's great. All right, so we found out that Dad's a cop, and we don't quite know that Mom's a drunk yet, but that will be revealed.
Well, she's also a tramp. Like, she's sleeping with half the town.
Well,
each time she comes out, there's a different guy hanging on her arm. Like, come on, let's go back to bed, honey.
Right. All right. So the next day, Nancy gets up. She's getting ready to go to school, and Mom's in the kitchen pouring her vodka into her coffee cup, and Nancy walks over and takes a drink of it, and she's like, where are you going? She's like, oh, I'm going to school. She's like, but you haven't slept. She's like, oh, well, I'll sleep in study hall. I'll be fine. So she goes to school, starts walking down to school, which again, I gotta say, parenting here. No. I'd have been like, you're not going to school. And if they insisted that they do go to school, I'd be like, I'm gonna drive you,
Yeah.
But whatever. So we find out
what a traumatizing thing for them to see. Like, if I was the parent, I'd be like, I think maybe we should take it easy today. You've kind of seen a lot. Like, that's not a normal thing for anybody to witness. Right? So I don't know. Maybe we should.
You just seen your best friend die.
Yeah.
Do you need to maybe talk to me, talk to a counselor, talk to a preacher?
Yes.
A priest, whoever.
And also, not only did your best friend die, but her boyfriend is potentially the killer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's also kind of like an associate of yours. Yeah.
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 All right. So she's walking to school, and Rod grabs Nancy and pulls her in the bushes. And of course, she's a little, freaked out. And she's like, what are you doing? And he, flips out his switchblade, and he's like, I'm warning you. And all of a sudden, Daddy's there with the gun. He's like, put it down. Which,
yeah, he is.
I gotta say,
like your ass depended on it, and I'm like,
right?
Oh.
Which I'm like, you showed a lot of restraint there, Dad.
Yeah.
Because had it been my kid, and I thought that this guy had just killed somebody, and he had a switchblade out in front of my child, I'd have been like, yeah, I tripped, clean his brains up. So,
Oops.
So Rod runs out and runs into the middle of the street and surrounded by cops, and obviously he gets arrested. And as they're arresting him, he's like, Nancy, I didn't do it, Nancy. And she looks at her dad and she's like, you used me, all dramatic like. And he's like, what are you doing going to school anyway for? Which there's a valid point there.
Of the two parents, he is definitely the most responsible.
Yeah. So Nancy's now in class, and the teacher is the wonderful Lynn Shay. I love her.
I know. I keep calling her. I know. I call her Professor Shay in this.
Right. I love her. I got way too excited when I was watching it again. And I was like, Stacy, that's Lynn Shay. She's like, that's good, honey. And I'm like, no, but that's Lynn Shay. She's like, I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. You've seen her other movies.
That's what I said. I'm like, put some years on her. You know what movie she's in. And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still not as excited as you, but yes, it is. I'm like, okay, thanks. So Nancy falls asleep during class. Starts to dream. Go ahead.
Can I just say too, I love when the student is reading Caesar And it gets slowed down, and that's that moment where, as the audience, we're like, oh wait, something's weird. She's in a dream.
So she dreams of Tina in a bloody body bag, which,
oh my god,
my favorite look.
Is just awesome. It's just awesome.
I want to do that for
absolutely
Halloween.
traumatizing, but also gorgeous.
And I don't know if this is true or not. And this is a fun fact, but that was like one of the #1 cosplays for years. Is Tina in the body bag?
It's so easy.
Nice.
It's so easy. Throw a blonde wig on, pour blood all over you, and get in a body bag. I'm like, that's great. I love it.
And just have a friend drag you around in a Freddy sweater.
Yes. That is awesome. So speaking of being pulled around, she goes out and Tina's being pulled down the school hallway by no one.
Yeah.
Which just to me is hella creepy. Mm-hmm. So Nancy decides she's going to run after her to find out where her dead best friend is. As she rounds the corner, she runs into the hall monitor who's got the sweater on. She's like, "Where's your hall pass? Screw your pass." Again, love it. I could quote this movie. Well, I am quoting the movie, but I love that. And as she's going, the girl turns into Freddy and she's like, "No running Nancy, no running in the halls." So Nancy is going into the boiler room, which she opens the door and goes into the boiler room. I'm like, I didn't realize there was boiler rooms in schools, but my school was also that big.
Okay, I'm kind of glad I'm not the only one, because I was like, I've never seen a school that has a boiler room. Granted, I did not go to school in 1984, but I don't think any school has a boiler room.
But if you will notice, there are a lot of horror movies that have boiler rooms in their school.
Well, they're naturally terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of creepy, but I mean, I don't know if they have them or not. So if somebody knows if you had a boiler room in your school,
please let us know.
Yeah, please let us know.
Yeah, tell us what that was like.
So as Nancy's in the boiler room, Freddy starts chasing her, and kind of backs her into a little corner there, and Nancy takes her arm and throws it up against a pipe and burns herself and wakes up screaming and freaking out. And, because she hurt herself, she pulled herself out of the dream. So, yeah.
Which is such a cool moment. Like,
right?
It shows like the bravery of Nancy, and like she's understanding, kind of like learning the scenario, like figuring things out, like figuring out this dream world and escape kind of work.
Exactly. Yeah. The rules within this other world, basically.
Yeah.
Like if you hurt yourself, you can wake up. Like basically the idea of pinching yourself to wake up.
Right.
You know you're in a dream. But what she doesn't realize is that once she leaves the dream, she's still hurt, which is
exactly
game changer.
So she's like, I'm gonna go home, and Lin Shaye's like, you got to go to the office. And she's like, no, I'm just going to go home. I'll be fine. And she's like, well, you'll need a hall pass. Which I just thought was
great callback. Oh my God.
Great callback.
I was like, that was awesome. So Nancy goes outside and she's standing there, and then she, realizes, oh my God, I actually have a burn on me, and she realizes what I did in the dream is happening out here. So
yeah.
Okay, so Nancy's now at the jail, and she is talking to Rod about what happened, and he says, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Just there was nobody there, but just cuts started happening all at the same time, like 4 razor blades, and she's like, oh shit. Yeah. I know what's happening here.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Rod tells Nancy that he dreamt of Freddy the night before. So now we know Rod's dreamt of Freddy.
Probably.
Nancy dreamt, probably. But Nancy's dreamt. We never find out if Glenn, which we'll talk about later, if Glenn ever dreamt of Freddy or not.
I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe in the very beginning, the first day that they're going to school, they're talking about the dream and Glenn just blowing them off or whatever, and he runs off, and I think he mentions that he dreamed, and Nancy's like, "What did you dream about?"
Right.
And he never responds. So
Right.
yeah, we may not know specifically, but I think Glenn is just the kind of guy that would, as he does with everything, brush it off and act like it's no big deal, because men don't talk about their feelings.
Yeah.
Real men do. So
in 1984, they did not, apparently.
True.
So now Nancy is taking a bath.
She sure is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
She's in there singing she's in there singing her nursery rhyme. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. All of a sudden, you see her start to fall asleep, and you see the hand come up, which I'm like, this is a little homage to Jaws or what? So
I probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I love it. It comes up. So
yeah.
One of the most iconic scenes in horror, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. One of my favorites. I can feel it, and it, like the claw never gets to her, but I'm just like, just the idea.
So she like wakes up.
Yeah, you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
You definitely clench, yeah.
So she wakes up, but doesn't wake up and kind of falls back to sleep. And all of a sudden she's pulled underneath the water by Freddy, but she's not just pulled under the water. She's pulled through the drain and she's under the tub, which again, I thought was incredibly cool. And it's a great effect when I was young.
No, it's still cool now. The lighting.
No, it is still now, but I'm like, I'm a plumber. There's no water under your tub.
Yeah,
like,
it's a dream.
That's not how that works. And I said that, and yeah, Stacy was like, not this last time. She's like, you do realize she's dreaming, right? She's like, the Eiffel Tower could be there. It doesn't matter. It's a dream. And I was like, I'm just going to shut up and watch this movie. So.
Yes, it is a beautiful moment, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
So, she's flipping and flailing, and all of a sudden, the mother's at the door, and she's like, what's going on? So she runs and grabs a coat hanger to try to jimmy the door, which I'm like, if you think that your kid is drowning, kick the door in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but whatever. I have a lot of critiquing on parenting in this movie, don't I?
To be fair,
yes,
the parents in this movie are crap, like horrible.
Yeah.
Parents.
So Nancy gets out of the tub just as Mom gets in the door, and she's like, "Oh, I'm fine." In her little wispy voice, she's like, "I just slipped getting out of the tub, but I'm okay now." Mom's like, "All right,
okay, sure. See you.
Got you some more milk in here." Which warm milk, gross.
So gross.
But, so she finds the stay awake pills just that are conveniently in the medicine cabinet. So she finds the stay awake pills, and they used to be called Vibrant.
Oh, so this is a real thing.
Yes, they're caffeine pills. They used to be called Vibrant.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was like, why would anybody have these in their medicine cabinet? But I mean, I used to know kids that would take Excedrin because it had caffeine in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is that what they were? They were. They're just caffeine pills, and they would keep you up. Remind me to tell you guys a story about that afterwards, because our viewers probably don't care. So. So anyway, she's back in her room, and Glenn decides that he's going to climb in her window and
classic,
come by for a visit. And then she's like sitting there, and she's like, "Oh God, I look like I'm 20 years old." Which at the time when I was watching it at like 7 or 8, I was like, yeah, that's old. And I watch it now, and I'm like, I want to punch you, lady.
I know.
I'm like, what I wouldn't give to be 20 years old.
Yeah.
So.
No.
You don't know nothing, Nancy. Yeah.
So that was great. So Nancy now asks Glenn to stay awake while she goes to sleep. Nancy leaves the house, goes downstairs, goes into the alley, ends up at the jail. She's looking in the jail. She sees what's going on here. She sees Freddie walk in the room. She starts calling for Glenn, of course, which I know she was dreaming, but when she called for Glenn and he came out from behind the bush, and I'm like, is he dreaming too? Now, is he asleep? Which obviously we know that he was, but I'm like,
Maybe he's like daydreaming.
Okay.
Maybe. Because he was able to pop in and pop back out. Maybe he was just like casually having a crisis, like dissociating, like, oh my God, my friends are dead.
Yeah. As one does, you know, but
yeah.
So now Freddie is running after Nancy, and Nancy's runs into her house and, you know, shuts the door and runs up the steps and gets stuck in the steps, which such a great effect. I mean, I know it's 1984. You know, my kid was watching it and he was like, clearly you can see that those are not part of the steps. And I was like, but in 1984, that was the bomb. I'm like, that was awesome then.
It's still awesome, let's be real.
Absolutely.
It's still awesome. And they used oatmeal as part of that. Yeah. So that's really fun. It looks awesome still.
And also, like, that's a very common thing in dreams. Like, when you're trying to run, like, things are much slower than they normally would be. So it's a great concept that they did there.
Yeah.
So she's now up in her room and Freddie jumps through the door and, you know, they're fighting and all this. And she wakes up right before Freddie, you know, is going to slash her. Her alarm goes off. So she wakes up. And I tell you what, Nancy was pissed at Glenn. At Glenn.
I was pissed at him.
Right?
Yeah. I was pissed at him. I'm like, what? Come on, man.
Right? And I was like, homie, listen.
Good job.
If you have one job, but also from a guy's perspective, if you're trying to hit that, you should probably at least do what she's asking. You know?
Yeah, because not every girl is like Nancy and will trust you again after you let her down the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Nancy and Glenn run to the jail and they say that they want to see Rod. And, you know, one cop is like, man, I took the night shift because I didn't want to deal with this crap. So she's like, I just want to see him, blah, blah, blah. Father comes out and is like, okay, give me the keys. We'll go see Rod.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think he thought there was anything wrong. He just wanted to appease his daughter, being a good dad. And he's like, you know, we'll find out what's going on.
Yeah. He's just going to be like, look, he's sleeping. Everything's fine.
Exactly.
Go back home.
Right.
Daddy doesn't approve of her being there. So he's like, let's just take care of this and, you know, send you on your way.
Exactly.
I feel like he would be more upset that she's with Glenn like past bedtime than he would be that she's there, but that's just me.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you out of the house with your boyfriend
past bedtime?
Yeah, like, running around here.
Crappy parenting.
Well, you know. So, you know, Lieutenant Johnson goes in and he's checking on him. When they walk in, they see that he hung himself. Well, we all know that Freddie hung him because we've seen it before that.
Yep.
So they're get him down and, you know, they go to check him and obviously he's dead and that's that. And, you know, Nancy's like, okay, well, I guess he got another one of us because she's now starting to put together the guy in the dream is killing people and it's really happening.
And it's happening to us. It's happening to our group, our cohort of people. So she went, he went, I have to be coming up here.
Right. There's only a couple of us left. So
yeah.
Exactly.
We're at Rod's funeral. Which a couple things. If I can ask.
Yeah.
Now, at Rod's funeral, his parents were obviously sitting there.
Sure.
Why were his friends sitting in the first row too? I always thought that was just for like family but whatever, I know it's a movie. So I'm just like, if you wanted to be true to form,
Yes. They would not technically be sitting or allowed
they
to
would
be
not
sitting.
have been sitting there. And
Well, listen, they had to get really good camera angles on Heather Langenkamp, okay?
there you go.
That's what it was.
Okay. And can I just say that the priest is kind of a dick.
Yeah. Just a bit.
Right? He's
That
like,
is so not cool.
if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I'm like,
You don't say that
it's
at
like,
anybody's
Read the
funeral.
room.
I'm like, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care who it is. You don't say that at a funeral.
No.
I'm like, you just no.
Savage.
Right?
And also, he wasn't proven guilty. He was still just like a
Right.
suspect. So
Right.
that's really a crappy thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so
right.
they're leaving the funeral now, and Nancy and Lieutenant Thompson and Marge are talking by the car, and he says, we need to get her some help. We need to, she needs to go to sleep. They're just kind of brainstorming, and Marge is like, I've got something better. I'm gonna get her some help. They get in the car and they go to the sleep study. The doctor's there. And
Yeah.
they go to this whole sleep thing, which this is the only part of the movie, which I'm like, you probably could have done without. I realized they had to do it to bring the hat out. And I understand that, but I'm like, just my opinion, you could have left that whole sleep study out and showed us a different way. But
I think they were
digress.
just trying to show that they were trying to take the more logical approach somehow, and that maybe
Gotcha.
the parents are starting to take things seriously a little bit.
Okay.
Also, there is a moment during the funeral where Nancy's telling her parents about the dreams that she's been having.
Right.
And there's like a facial expression on her mom's face, just briefly. You don't
Yep.
really catch it,
At the
but
car.
you can tell, that she
Yes.
recognizes exactly who she's describing. Yeah.
When the lieutenant and the mom look at each other, and it was kind of like that
Yes.
oh shit moment.
Great moment. Great
Yeah.
exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wonderful. All right, so she's at the sleep study, and she goes, into REM and all that, and you can clearly tell that she's dreaming, and she starts freaking out, looking like she's having convulsions, and so they run into the room, and the nurse she's like, I'm gonna give this to her, it'll calm her down and help her sleep. She's like, the hell you are. No,
Yeah.
we're done with that.
Yeah.
So they notice that her arm has been cut, and they're like, how did that happen? Well, before that, she notices the gray hair.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm like, now you really do look 20, don't you?
Yeah.
So she's got the gray hair, and they notice the slash mark on her, and then the big reveal that she's pulled off Freddy's fedora, and she has it with her. Now, did no one at all think that was funny? Okay, she scratched her arm. That's how she's bleeding. Her hair went gray because whatever.
Stress.
Yeah, stress.
Yeah.
Did you not see her get in bed? She didn't have a hat with her. Everyone thought this was okay. I mean, they were just like, a bitch found a hat. I mean,
listen, if you saw random, like, let's say you're a doctor in the hospital, and this chick has been having nightmares, blah, blah, blah. She all of a sudden starts convulsing. You guys wake her up, and she randomly has a hat. Is your first conclusion that there's somebody killing people in their dreams, and she pulled his hat out, and she's like, oh, got your hat. Like, no, that's not going to be your first conclusion.
well, no, but I would.
Someone left it in the bed and no one checked.
But I would still want to know, why do you have this hat? And if it was left in the bed, the janitorial staff needs to be fired. because
Most likely, but
yeah,
yeah.
I feel like they might have thought they were scamming them or something. Like would have been their
Yeah.
first, like, okay,
Sure.
you guys are trying to pull some kind of joke on us, pull
Right.
one over on the Sleep Institute,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
but sneak
Yeah.
this hat in and set up this little scenario, but we're not buying it.
Yeah.
At
So-
most, I think they would have thought it was just a teenage prank.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next day, Nancy comes down to get ready to go to school, and Mom again is pouring vodka into her coffee. I don't think she's pouring vodka into her coffee. I just think she's putting it in the cup and just drinking vodka.
Yes.
So anyway, she starts to argue with Mom about what's going on and, why didn't you tell me? And what's, she's like, oh, I threw that old dirty hat away. So she, takes a drink of the coffee too. And she's like, pulls open the drawer and she's like, this hat?
Yeah.
It's got his name in it, Fred Krueger, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you just need some sleep. And she's like, maybe I should just get nice and soused like you. Picks up the vodka bottle and, she, of course, cracks her and, you need to get some sleep and love it. Screw sleep. Heather Langenkamp, that's how she signed her autograph to me. Screw sleep.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yes. So, okay. Mom's like, come here. Fred is dead. That's just how it is. He can't hurt you. She's like, well, I'm going to school again with the parenting, but or I'm leaving. So Nancy and Glenn are now on the bridge, and he's eating himself a sandwich.
Sammy.
Because that's what he does. He eats sandwiches. He's eating, and she's reading a book, and they're talking about dreams, and this is what these people do about dreams, and what happens if they meet a monster in their dream, they just turn their back on them, take their energy away, and all of that good stuff.
Yep.
And he's like, what are you reading? Booby traps. She's like, well, I'm just kind of interested in it. I'm like, if he's your boyfriend, why don't you tell him what's going on?
Because he let her down 10 minutes ago. Can't open up to this guy anymore.
Yeah. He's kind of lost his privileges there. Like, He's in the doghouse
for a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Well,
but I love the book too, and I love that she's just like preparing to like Home Alone this.
I was gonna say she's about to go home alone on his butt.
I was just about to say it's like she's a mixture of Kevin McAllister from Home Alone and MacGyver. I'm like, she can do a lot with some string and a hanger. She's great.
Yes.
Nancy now comes home and she realizes that Mom has gone to the security store and the house now looks like Fort Knox. Bars on the windows, can't get in, can't get out.
And she tore the lattice down that Glenn used to sneak up to her room.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So Nancy comes in and she's like, Mother! Which I just love how she calls her mom.
I know.
So she's like, what's going on? And, Marge comes out in her 1984 night dress, which made me think of you because I'm like, there you go.
It is the perfect example. It is the perfect one where I'm like, if I were to tell you the perfect, robe of horror, it is that one. I'm obsessed. Yes. I love it. And she's got her cigarette and all, and I'm like, yes, I'm living for this so much.
Totally made me think of you, Jamie. She came out and I literally started laughing.
Yes.
And they're like, what? I'm like, Jamie's robe of horror. And they're like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'm like, I'll explain after the movie. So she's standing there. She's got her vodka. She says, come on, let's go down to the cellar. I got something to tell you. So she tells her the story of Freddie and what happened. And he was, a child killer and he was arrested and the whole 9 yards, and they let him off on a technicality. And she's like, okay, is there a little more to this? She's like, yep. She reaches in and she takes out the glove and she's like, see, he's dead. Because Mommy killed him, honey.
Yeah.
That's just... Why didn't you tell her this a long time ago? And
Why
how
would
do
you tell your child that, though?
Right. I mean, why would you tell her that? But he can't hurt you because Mommy killed him.
I would have just been like, he's dead.
Mommy's not only a drunk, she's a murderer. So...
And a crummy parent to boot.
Right?
Yeah. Mommy's got a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically,
Mommy.
like, this is why Freddy is coming after the kids. Like,
Right.
Because
Exactly.
specifically these sets of kids, like, it's
Yep.
their parents that
Yeah.
did it. So
Yeah. I just love that. He's dead now, honey, because Mommy killed him.
It's one of my
So
favorite
sweet.
lines because
Right?
I love her so much, and the way that she says it, it's very soft. Her voice is very soft, and you don't have to worry anymore, because Mommy killed him. And I'm like,
yeah,
I love
it's
that.
fine.
It's so like cinematic. It's such a like epic kind of moment, but it's
Yeah.
quiet, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now Nancy's back up in her room and she decides that she's going to call Glenn. And she tells him the plan that,
We're doing this.
she's going to go do this and she's going to get this guy and you got to help me. And, Glenn kind of thinks she's a little nuts, but,
She's hot and he still
Yeah.
wants to have sex with her.
he's hot
so-
and he loves her. He loves her. So,
okay.
he's like, okay, I can deal with it. Whatever.
Sure.
Do I get to see your
I'll
boobs?
say
I
I
mean,
can help. Yeah. Although I'll
so
mess up on this too.
she says to meet me at midnight on the porch, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Sleep. You had one freaking job. Again, she is trusting you. She is telling you the plan. This is what we're going to do because he's admitted that he's dreaming too and he's not sleeping.
Right.
You had one thing to do. That's it.
it.
Don't lay
I'm
down in
not
bed for
difficult.
one.
Right? So what did he do?
He laid
He
in
fell
bed and
asleep.
watched TV. Yep,
Yeah.
fell asleep.
Yeah, I know. And his
So
little
he-
crop top.
Right.
Little crop top.
So Glenn falls asleep, and as a mother does, she walks in to check to see if he's sleeping and then wakes him up to tell him to go to sleep.
It's great.
I'm like, okay.
Sure.
Right? Basically, she's like, it's time to go to bed. How can you listen to your earphones and watch the TV? And his answer was great. He's like, Mom, I wasn't watching the tube. Miss Nude America's on. So she's like, how do you hear what she has to say? And he's like, who cares?
Yeah, I don't need to hear what she has to
Right?
say.
Who cares what she has to say? She's Miss Nude America. So, okay. So at this point, we flip back to the Thompson house, and Mom puts Nancy to bed and says, it's time to go to bed, and it's over. And she walks out and takes the coffee pot from her. And Nancy's like, good night, Mom. Love you. The whole,
Yeah, I'm gonna sleep now.
yeah. So she lays down to go to sleep. Her mom gets up. She goes out, gets a spare coffee pot out, and starts pouring some
Right
coffee
from
into
under her bed.
Right.
Right from under her bed. It's ready to go. I
Yes.
laughed so hard. I was like,
too.
how many coffee pots does this family have?
Right?
Oh my gosh. There's another one stored away somewhere.
She's
so.
probably got 3 total.
For real. So Glenn's parents are on the porch, and they're talking about Nancy, and Dad's like, this bitch crazy.
Yeah,
I don't want her around my kid.
Valid.
And the mother's like, oh, are you talking about the bars and stuff on the window? That's just Marge, because she's home alone, so she's trying. If I was the father, I'd have been like, no, because she went out and now 2 of her fucking friends are dead. I don't want my kid by her.
Yeah.
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 There is that.
Right? So Nancy decided she's going to call over to Glenn to talk to him again. And,
She can't because little jerk's asleep.
right?
I know.
But anyway, Glenn's mom answers the phone and she's like, it's her. She wants to talk to Glenn. Ted's like, Can't talk to him. He's sleeping. Have to see you tomorrow. Boom. Hangs up the phone on her. He's like, as a matter of fact, takes the phone, puts it off, and
Yep.
you can hear the beep, 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 beep of it being busy, which is fun because when you watch this with younger kids now,
They have no clue what that
They're
is.
like, what?
they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
They're like, first of all, what are those things? And I'm like, they're phones.
Are you
You used to
serious?
Yeah, you used to have them in the houses. They're not cell phones.
Your son
You would
did
call
not
from
ask
one
that,
house to
what
the
that
other.
was.
No, not my son.
Okay.
No, he knew. I'm like, they used to, and then, well, why'd they set the phone down? I'm like, because if the phone's not on the receiver, it can't get a call.
Yeah.
The other person just
Yeah.
thought they were on the phone, so the phone was busy, so you would have to call back. And I'm like, you know what? I'm old. That's just all there is to it. If I have to explain all this, I'm old. The phone rings at Nancy's, and she pulls it out of the wall, and there's, it's now no longer connected. And she's like, oh, great. What am I going to do if, Glenn decides to call? And phone rings again, and she's like, wait a minute. So she answers it, and she's like, hello? And then you get the iconic, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy, with the Freddy mouth and the tongue.
Yes.
I love.
That is amazing. And I want to find somebody who makes one of those because I need that.
I know somebody that makes them.
I have
Do
one.
you really?
Jamie has one.
Mhm.
Hold on, right
Yeah,
here.
he goes to the cons.
Really?
It's Patrick Hart.
Yeah.
Patrick Hart.
Okay.
He makes the Robin Williams teddy bears. He
Uh-huh.
makes all this. He makes all the horror villain bears
Really?
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I've never seen that there.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
he
should
makes
be
them
at
and he makes
flashback.
new
He usually
ones.
comes to flashbacks.
I'm going to have to get one because I'm like, that's freaking awesome. That's a piece
It's
that
really
I have
dope.
to have. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the jealousy right here, Jamie. Thank you. But anyway, Nancy's trying to get out of the house and Glenn is sleeping. Then we get the iconic Glenn getting pulled into the bed and just the gush of blood that just shoots up and is all over. And I'm like, my God, how much blood is in the human body?
Not that much.
No, I definitely not that much, but I'm like, that couldn't have
Thank
been
goodness.
cooler and could not have looked any better. Oh,
Oh,
that was phenomenal.
Yes.
So
yeah, so amazing. It's like scene
Yeah.
stealer, like movie stealer. It's one of the best. It's
Yeah.
not my favorite
Yes.
kill, but it's really good.
you get
Yeah.
the blood gusher, and then mom busts in the door and starts freaking out and screaming, and which of course I think would be the right response. I mean,
Yeah.
so the next thing we notice is the police and the medics are over at Glenn's house, and Nancy calls her dad at Glenn's house and tells him that she's going to go get the guy. She knows who's doing this, and she's going to go get the guy. And he's like, well, if you know who it is, baby, just
Tell me.
me, and I'll go get him. And she's like, you can't, Daddy. I have to be the one to get him. Just come over here in 20 minutes and break the door down, and I'll have him.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, whatever.
He's like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna go to sleep and get him. He's like, yeah, I think that's a good thing to do, is just go ahead and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna just stop here for a second and again go on with the parenting. If I was the cop, no matter what I am in life, I'm a dad first. If my kid is talking crazy out their head, or at least I think they're talking crazy out their head, I'm gonna tell the other cop, deal with this. I'm going across the street. I got to take care of my kid. I have to go find out what's happening because she's talking like, a person with a paper asshole, and I have to go find out what's going on. So,
I would have at least maybe tried to be like, hey, is your mom awake? Like, can I talk to her?
Yeah.
Like something.
Yeah, but he would probably didn't want to talk to her because number one, they don't like each other anyway, and he's like, that bitch is drunk. That bitch is drunk. So
Yeah, that's true.
He should have done something though, for sure. I mean,
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's also, even though it's like crazy talk, she's also like talking about like potentially dangerous stuff. Like she's gonna
Right.
get some guy who has been killing people, even
Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
was, even if any of that was like a sliver of the truth in his mind, he should have been like,
Right.
I don't want her like going after some potentially
Killer,
dangerous
yeah.
person. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like,
Yep.
before you're anything, you're a dad, homie. But
Yeah.
anyway, I digress.
Naughty John Saxon. Naughty.
Right?
Naughty.
So, I think y'all mean naughty in a different way than I mean naughty. So,
Sorry, guys.
So Nancy starts to prepare for Freddy, and she's setting up all her booby traps. And I got right here, bitches, Kevin McAllister and MacGyver. I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Perfect.
So Nancy has her heartfelt, come to mom moment. I love you. Go to sleep. And, I think personally the way I took it was she's going to talk to mom and making sure she's okay and letting her know that she loves her because
she may not see her again.
She may not see her again.
Yeah.
And, they've had their fights and, all of that stuff, but she does want to make sure that, she knows she loves her. So I was like, oh, that was a little heartfelt moment there.
That was sweet.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So,
And like it really explains her like final girl arc too, because mom is saying like, you face things, like that's your gift.
Yeah.
Like that's just how you are.
Right.
So yeah, like super final girl like pathway right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So mom goes to sleep and Nancy goes upstairs to go to bed and, she prays the "Now I lay me down to sleep" prayer because she's like, God, you got me. Made my peace with mom. I'm going to make my peace with you because I'm about to die probably. So she goes on the search for Freddy and Nancy starts dreaming and goes into the basement of her house and she goes over to the furnace and opens it up and discovers that the glove is gone. And she hears the infamous scraping and walks over to the door in the basement and opens it, and it's a set of steps down into a boiler room.
Right.
So, yeah. So a lot of boiler rooms here. So I know it's a dream, but I'm like, a lot of boiler rooms. So she goes down into the boiler room and she hears, as she's, walking through there, she hears Tina calling out for her,
Yeah.
which it's very faint. So if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. It's just fainting in the background and you hear, Nancy.
Yeah. It's
So
really
I
sad
thought-
too.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
And then she finds her crucifix in the dream world too, which I thought was so cool.
I was just gonna say, so she starts calling out for Freddy, and then she walks into like one of the rooms and she sees the crucifix and she's Rod's switchblade
Yeah.
laying there and a couple other things, and now she's getting really pissed. So
Yeah.
she
You
starts
killed my friends.
right.
Yeah.
Right at that point, there is, I think, one of the best shots in the movie where Freddy comes around the pole and you see half of his face there. And it's not just like the normal, he actually, to me, looked evil.
Yeah.
He looked hella creepy and hella evil. Like, I can see the demon in him now. That was a great shot.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that scared me when I was little, and it still gives me the creeps now when I'm not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. She goes and she finds Glenn's bloody headphones.
Yeah.
Now she's pissed. She's like,
Yeah.
I knew you killed him before, but now I'm pissed. And she starts, calling for him again. Come on, Freddy, come on. And all of a sudden, boom, he like pops up behind her, which every time that happens, and I've watched this movie hundreds of times, I freaking jump.
Really?
I freaking jump every time. Every time that happens, I jump. And
That makes me so happy.
And I'm literally like, this son bitch about to pop up here. Don't jump. He pops up, I jump.
There are movies that still do that to me, but
Yeah.
it really makes me happy that you still have a movie that does that to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody should have at least one movie that still makes them jump every time.
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to one good scare. Different
There you go. So now she's outside, and Freddie, you know, she's outside with him, and Freddie grabs her right as the alarm sounds, and she's kind of got him as the alarm sounds, so she's waking up, right?
Yeah.
So she wakes up in her bed, and there's no Freddie there. And she's like, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I am crazy. And all of a sudden, Freddie pops out from the other side of the bed, which, again, every freaking time I watch this movie, I know what's going to happen. Every time he jumps out from the bed, I piss my pants a little bit. It scares me. I still love it. And literally, I watch this movie probably 5-6 times a year. I mean, I love this movie. But every time I watch it, I jump. So thank you, Wes. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Heather.
Yes.
It's great. So let's see. Freddie now starts to chase her, and we got all the wonderful booby traps that she set up. She shuts the door and puts the sledgehammer up, and
I love that one.
Yes, that's awesome. So she runs downstairs, and she breaks the window, and she's like, Dad. Calling for Dad. I got him. Go. And the cop's like, it's okay. It's fine. Things going to be okay. And she's like, get my dad, you asshole. Love it. And then he's
she
like,
clearly looks like the crazy chick, though. She's got the bars on the window. And she's like, I got him in here.
I know.
And so he's like, maybe I ought to get the lieutenant.
Maybe.
You think? Watch my house so no crazy shit happens. What am I watching it for? Anything. Your daughter's now broke the window and screaming, Dad, I've got him. Help me. How did you ever become a cop, sir?
Help me. Those are the two words that should be like, go to your daughter.
Right?
Yes.
So, pop up to Freddie opens the door and gets a sledgehammer to the gut. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Cop's like gone to get Lieutenant Thompson, and Freddie comes down the steps, and you see Nancy jump over the tripwire, and she's like, come on, Freddie. Come on. Come and get me, you little bitch. So he's like, I'm gonna gut you. Hits the tripwire. Boom, he's on fire. There's the big explosion from the lamp going down. So Nancy runs downstairs into the basement, and she's hiding, and he's coming down, and he's like, I'm going to find you. I'm going to kill you. And that creepy Freddy voice. And all of a sudden she takes gas and starts throwing it at him. And as she throws the gas on him, he's like, no. Now he's scared because this is how he died in real life.
Yeah.
And, she takes the match and sets him on fire, and, runs upstairs and locks him in the basement. And all of a sudden Lieutenant Thompson comes and breaks the door down, and she's like, honey, what's going on? What's going on? And she's like, Daddy, I got him. He's dead. And turn around, and she looks at the door, and it's open, and you see the footprints of fire going up the stairs. And
such a great effect.
Yes. So Freddy's gone, and he's like, she's after Mother. She runs upstairs, and Lieutenant Thompson's like, I better follow her, right? So he goes upstairs, and Freddy's on top of the mother, and Lieutenant Thompson takes I believe it's a blanket,
Yeah.
Yes.
And like,
Because he's still on fire.
Because he's on fire.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, not telling you how to do your job. And I realize she's on fire. But even if it was my ex-wife,
I know.
my kid's mother, if I see somebody on top of her, I have a gun on my hip. I may shoot him.
Yeah.
Then put him out. But whatever. I digress. She, you know, all of a sudden pulls the blanket off and Freddy's not there. But the burnt up skeleton of the mother is there and just gets lowered down into the bed, which
so beautiful.
Awesome effect. Awesome effect. Yes.
Gorgeous.
Loved it. So now the bed is back to normal, which Lieutenant Thompson, none of this is at all freaking you out.
Yeah, he acts like nothing happened.
Right? And Nancy's like, go downstairs, Dad.
Yeah.
I'll be down in a minute. And he's like, all right, peace. See you.
I know.
Again, with the parenting. I'm like, no.
Oh,
You're
you got
coming with
this?
me.
All right, I'm out.
Right?
Yeah.
So she shuts the door and she knows that it's not over.
No.
And all of a sudden we see Freddy start coming up out of the bed. And as he gets there, he rips through the, through the bed and he's coming. Nancy just turns around and she's like, I've turned my back on him. That's it. She says that I take all the energy that I've ever given to you. I take it away from you. I want my mother and friends again. And he's like, you what? She's like, you're nothing. You're shit. And as he goes to lunge at her and kill her, he's gone.
Yep.
Because she's taken all the power away and he has nothing now. So
I try to tell myself that speech when I need courage.
Right?
I'm like,
that is such a great speech, and it can be applied to just about anything.
Yes.
Like, especially toxic relationship. Like, I know it's a movie, but Nancy is commonly referred to as not just a final girl, but she is a survivor.
Oh yeah.
And she's been through so much, like just like looking at her parents and how they are. She's clearly had some trauma before this. And she's that whole speech of like, I take every bit of energy I ever gave you and I'm taking it back. Like, that's such a great line.
And you know what? You can really apply it.
You can apply
to anything in your life. Whether it's
I seriously do.
A spouse, a bad friendship, a bad relationship, a working relationship.
Yeah.
Look, I tried everything I can.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. Any ounce of anything that I ever gave you,
I'm taking it back.
I take it back. You have no hold over me.
Yeah. You can still wish the best for somebody, but know that they no longer need to be in your life.
Absolutely.
And that's essentially what she's saying here.
Here.
Yep.
We'll get onto that. But yes, I can wish you the best. I don't want you to starve.
Right.
But you'll no longer eat at my table.
Exactly.
So that's it.
Yep.
Okay. And this just turned into relationship advice. So
we got you guys.
Yeah.
Right? This is not just horror movies. We got you.
Essentials for everything.
Exactly. So now Nancy's getting ready to go to school and she's on the front porch and Mom's out there and hair's all done, makeup's all done. She's in that white dress looking all cute and everything, and friends pull up in the convertible and
it's foggy everywhere, like it's still smoking from the fire.
I was just about to say it's all foggy, and she's like, can you believe this fog? And Glenn's like, I believe anything nowadays. So she gets right. So they get in the car and wave goodbye. All of a sudden the top goes up, and as the top goes up, you realize that it's red and green striped. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm not doing this. And as they're pulling away, because the car starts driving by itself, and Nancy's like on the window, like, hey, Mom's just like, bye, have a good day, have a wonderful day at school. All of a sudden Freddie's arm pops out and pulls her into the sucks her in through the window that's this big,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
I love. And
I do too.
she was like this. And she stayed like this, and she was just straight and pulled through the window,
Yep.
which I thought was wonderful. That was great.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
And then
You hear Freddie laughing.
you hear Freddie laughing, and you see the kids jumping rope, and you hear the nursery rhyme, and that has been Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984.
Woohoo.
So,
Love it.
Jamie, give us some fun facts, dear.
Okay. There's a lot of info on this movie, so I just picked some that I really like. Okay. So first of all, Freddy Krueger's sweater, it's like scientifically scary. Okay, guys. They actually were inspired by a magazine article that was talking about how those particular shades of red and green together are really, really unsettling. So I thought that was really fun. Okay. So for Glenn's death scene, they actually had a set that was built upside down. So that's how they did that effect. And it actually messed up some of the cameras and stuff because of all the blood. So yeah, caused a little bit of destruction.
I could see that.
Yeah. Apparently Charlie Sheen was interested or even cast as Glenn, but they couldn't afford or didn't want to pay him $3,000 a week. So they did not use
They went for the unknown at the time kind of Johnny Depp because he'd done 21 Jump Street at this point.
But can I say that I am really glad that Charlie Sheen didn't get it?
Me too, because who knows where Johnny Depp would have been if he didn't get this role.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
This was his big movie debut.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he did a very good job.
Oh,
he did.
He was excellent. He was excellent. And apparently Wes Craven's daughter thought he was dreamy and was like, you have to hire him or I'm running away.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really cute.
It is adorable.
Okay. Apparently there were 3 different versions of Freddy's glove, and the hero glove was actually pretty dangerous. I guess people got cut using it because it could actually cut, and it was really, really sharp.
Yeah, apparently Robert Englund, the first time he put on the glove, he cut himself.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a little dangerous. Okay, now this one, the actress who plays Tina said that the body bag that they used was a real body bag the film crew got from the local morgue, which she said was terrifying.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard her say that.
Yeah.
It's creepy to think about all the bodies that used to be in that bag.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can see why she was a little terrified by that. This is so hard to believe. I read this one before, but apparently Freddy Krueger has 7 minutes or less of screen time in this movie.
In this
he's
one,
not, yeah. In this one, he's not in it very much. He's just such a bigger than life character. It feels like he's in it for way, way more.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently Heather beat over 200 actresses to get the role of Nancy. Some of the other people who auditioned, we know them pretty well. Jennifer Grey was one of them, Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, and Tracy Gold. So lots of Yep.
Well, I'm glad Heather got it.
Me too, because I can't see anybody else coming back for other movies.
I can't either. This was added to the National Film Registry in 2021. It's about time. Hello.
Right?
Yeah. And then lastly, and I don't know much about this, but apparently in Glenn's death scene, after the bloodbath, the blood spurts up, he was supposed to rise out of the bed or rise from the bed, but they cut that.
Lame.
Oh, God.
That would have been so cool.
Yes.
I know, and I'm like, I would have loved to see
awful.
that. Is
you
that
probably just couldn't get it to work.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So yeah, just some fun facts there.
Awesome. Let's get into rating this movie. Jamie, what would you rate this movie?
I love this movie. I love Freddy. Freddy's one of my favorite of the big slashers. I'm a proud 10 on this one. I mean, it's not my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but it still gets a 10. And my favorite one gets a 10 too.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know if a number to rate this movie doesn't do it justice. It's such a great movie and it's a classic. I'm gonna go with a 9 just because it's not a perfect movie, and I wish that some things could have been shortened, and then they could have elaborated more on some other things. But I'm gonna say it's a solid 9. It's a really great movie, and it's one of my favorites. So
Yeah. Also one of my favorites. I do agree that there's some things that could have been explained more, something could have been shortened a little bit. I do love the fact that every time I watch it for the past 40 years, there's still 2 or 3 things that scare the crap out of me and I jump. So it's not a perfect 10 because I don't think I've given anything a perfect 10 yet.
No.
But I would definitely say it's really close. I would say it's at least a 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least
Very
a 9.
nice. Yeah. Awesome.
I could watch this every day on repeat.
Same.
It's a
I never
great
get
one.
tired of this one. Never.
No.
And
I can't say the same about the others.
Yeah. There's a couple that I would watch, but I could put this one on repeat and just leave it go and go do housework or whatever and just have it on. And I love it.
It's a happy place movie for sure.
It
Let's
is.
be real.
It is.
Yeah. All right. That is Nightmare on Elm Street 1984. If you haven't already, please like, follow, subscribe. That really helps our little podcast out so much. And we will see you guys very soon. Bye.
Bye.
Sweet dreams.